They say ice is a vault, that it keeps secrets, preserves history, and keeps the past intact, protected from the rot of time. But that is a romantic lie. Ice is not a guardian. Ice is a thief. It steals warmth, it steals breath, and in the case we are opening today, it steals the only thing that makes us human, the ability to trust those we love. When you die of hypothermia, in the final stages, the mind plays a cruel trick. The body is freezing, the organs are shutting down, but the brain, in a last spasm of chemical madness, tells you that you are burning alive. It is called paradoxical undressing. Victims are found naked in the snow, having torn off their own clothes in a final delirium. They die trying to cool down, while the world around them turns to stone. It is the mind betraying the body. But today's story is about something far worse. It is about the mind betraying the soul, and about the exact moment it realizes the mistake. Welcome to The Lost Drawer. Today, we open case file 84, and I need to warn you, this story does not end where you think it ends. The object in our hands is a Leica camera, model 1928, recovered from a deep crevasse in the Huascaran Glacier in the Peruvian Andes. The brass is oxidized, stained with green patches that look like ancient tears. But what made the rescue team hesitate wasn't the condition. It was what was scratched into the base. 2 words, carved by trembling hands: "Don't develop." A warning from the grave. We ignored it, and now the 36 photos contained in this roll exist. But what we discovered after frame 36 changed everything, because the camera had a secret only discovered when we tried to close it. This is not a story of monsters. It is proof that at extreme altitudes, the greatest enemy is not the mountain. It is the voice inside your own head, and what that voice does when it finally realizes it was wrong.
To understand what we're about to see, we must go back to 1932. We must meet Arthur Sterling and Thomas Gray. They were not just partners, they were brothers. They grew up in the same orphanage in London. Thomas saved Arthur from a fire when they were 12. Arthur paid for Thomas's schooling by working on the docks when they were 20. They left for the Andes to find the Fortress of the Clouds, a lost citadel that maps ignored. Before the climb, they promised, "We go down together, or we don't go down at all." A beautiful promise, but the mountain does not care about promises, and the human mind, when deprived of oxygen, does not care about memories. Close your eyes for just a moment. Think of the person you trust most in the world. Now imagine that face. Hold it in your mind. Open your eyes, because what we're about to show you is what happens when that face becomes the face of your executioner. The film was deteriorated, almost dust, but the recovered images are hauntingly clear. Frame 4 shows Thomas laughing at base camp, sunlight on his face. Frame 7 shows Thomas bandaging Arthur's leg. You can feel the love. They were a unit, a single organism fighting nature. But frame 4 is the last time we see Arthur's eyes full of love, because then the altitude rises. They pass 5,000 meters, and the biological tragedy begins. There is a condition known as cerebral hypoxia. Lack of oxygen doesn't just cause dizziness, it alters perception. It shuts down logic and amplifies fear, aggression, paranoia. Your brain, when starved, begins to see threats that don't exist. It rewrites memory. It turns friends into enemies, and it makes you believe with absolute conviction that your hallucinations are truth. Frame 15 changes everything. The photo shows Thomas sleeping, but it was taken from above. Arthur was standing, watching his friend sleep. Why would you watch a brother sleep? Unless you no longer saw a brother. Unless you saw a threat. We found Arthur's journal with the camera. From day 14, his handwriting changes. It becomes spiked, aggressive. He writes, "Thomas is whispering while I sleep. He is hoarding food. He looks at me differently now. His eyes are no longer the eyes of the boy who grew up with me. They are eyes of hunger." Hypoxia was planting madness. Arthur began to believe Thomas was conspiring against him, that Thomas wanted the credit, that Thomas wanted him dead. Frame 20 shows food overturned in the snow. Arthur kicked it. In the journal, poison. He put something in the soup. It tasted metallic. He wants me weak. But here is the tragedy. The metallic taste was dysgeusia, distortion caused by hypoxia. Thomas was giving his own ration to Arthur, trying to keep him strong. The act of love was twisted into assassination. And then, the storm. Frame 28. They are trapped in an ice crevasse for 4 days. No food. Absolute cold. The photo shows Thomas screaming, pointing up at a vertical ice wall. Arthur's journal. He is screaming at me. He says I am dead weight. He will abandon me here. I see the hate in his face. The monster has taken off the mask. But the photo shows panic, not hate. A man trying to wake his catatonic friend. Thomas was screaming, "Get up! We need to climb!" Frame 33. A close-up of the safety rope. The rope is cut. Arthur took this as proof. In his mind, Thomas cut the rope and fled, leaving him to die. Arthur stayed there, injured, unable to walk, watching his friend's footprints disappear. Imagine the certainty, the absolute certainty of betrayal. That certainty is poison. Arthur spent his last hours consumed not by cold, but by hate. He curled up, holding the camera like a weapon, feeding on the certainty that Thomas was a monster. But the journal stops. The ink froze, only photos remain. And frame 36 is where everything changes. Arthur is in his final moments. The paradoxical heat of death arrives. He hears footsteps in the snow. In his delirium, he thinks the monster returned, to laugh at his corpse, to steal the camera. Arthur gathers his last strength. He decides to take a picture of the killer. Final proof for the world. His hand trembles. He turns the lens upward, fires the flash in the storm. Take a deep breath, because what we're about to tell you will change how you see every argument, every misunderstanding you've ever had. We cleaned the image. We saw what Arthur saw, and the truth is unbearable. In the photo, we see Thomas. Thomas hadn't fled. His body was found decades later, not descending, but ascending. He cut the rope not to abandon Arthur, but because Arthur was too heavy to hoist. The wall was vertical. One had to cut. Thomas chose to be him. Thomas climbed alone, without safety, risking everything to reach the top and find rescue. He didn't run. He went to get help.
And photo 36 shows his return. Thomas came back. He descended in the storm, crawling, his hands black with necrosis, his face burned, his lungs collapsing. He knew he was dying, but he came back anyway, to die beside his friend. In the photo, Thomas's face is inches from the lens, but Arthur saw a monster with a grotesque smile and long teeth. The photo shows reality. Thomas wasn't smiling. What Arthur saw was skin cracked and retracted by extreme cold, tissue frozen, pulled back, exposing teeth. A death mask, not expression, decomposition. And the eyes. Thomas's eyes held no hate. They were full of tears, frozen tears clinging to lashes. In the photo, Thomas's hand is extended, not holding a knife, but holding his own coat. He was taking it off to cover Arthur. Thomas returned to give his last warmth to the friend who hated him. And here we thought the story ended, a tragedy of misunderstanding. Arthur died hating, Thomas died loving. Sad but complete. But when lab technicians tried to close the camera after developing frame 36, they heard a click. A mechanical click that shouldn't exist. They opened it again. The roll hadn't ended. The counter was broken. It showed 36, but there were 38. Frame 37. The photo is shaky, out of focus. Taken seconds after 36, we see the flash illuminating snow. Thomas's face, still close. But now, something else. Arthur's hands. He is no longer holding the camera firmly. He dropped it, and his hands are extended, touching Thomas's face. Researchers fell silent. According to the journal, Arthur hated Thomas, believed he was a monster. Why would he touch his face? The answer is in frame 38, the last photo, the photo no one expected. Frame 38 was taken with the automatic timer.
a rare function in 1928, but the Leica had it. Someone set the timer. The photo was taken 10 seconds later. In the photo, both bodies, Arthur and Thomas, embracing Thomas's coat over Arthur. But the detail that made researchers cry is in Arthur's hands. They are holding Thomas's face, holding it with tenderness. And in the snow, next to the camera, something written in blood, with Arthur's finger, shaky but legible. 3 words: I was wrong. Arthur had a moment of clarity. In his last seconds, when Thomas touched him, when he felt the coat's warmth, when he saw the tears, the veil lifted. For a brief, devastating moment, Arthur saw the truth. He saw that Thomas had returned, that Thomas never abandoned him, that everything he believed was a lie, that the monster never existed, that he had hated, with every fiber, the only man who loved him enough to die for him. And Arthur didn't feel relief. He felt horror, absolute horror, because he realized he had killed Thomas, not with a knife, but with hate. Thomas crawled back through the storm to save Arthur, and Arthur received him with a camera flash and eyes full of poison. Arthur's last words were not love. They were guilt. He wrote, "I was wrong." Then he set the timer. He wanted the world to know not that Thomas was a hero, but that he, Arthur, was the real monster. Thomas died believing he kept his promise. He died in peace. Arthur died knowing he had killed, with suspicion and hate, the only person who never abandoned him. He died carrying the weight of truth, and that weight is infinitely heavier than the mountain. The camera lay between them, a block of metal that recorded not just the greatest misunderstanding in exploration history, but the exact moment truth arrived too late. The warning, "Don't develop," was not written when Arthur was mad. It was written when he was sane. In his last lucidity, he carved it, because he knew developing these photos was revealing his own monstrosity, that Thomas was the hero, and he was the villain. But we developed them, and now you know. Arthur died twice, once from cold, once from truth.
2 men entered as brothers. 2 died embracing, but only one died believing he was loved. The other died knowing he had wasted his last act of love on hate. The question is not why Thomas returned. The question is, if you had a moment of clarity before you died, what would you see? Who have you accused of abandoning you who never left? Who have you pushed away believing they were enemies when they were just imperfect? If you had the chance to write 3 words in the snow before you die, what would you write? Arthur wrote, "I was wrong." What is hidden in your drawer? What truths are you avoiding because their weight is too heavy? Remember case file 804. Sometimes truth doesn't free you. Sometimes it crushes you. But it is better to die crushed by truth than fed by lies. Subscribe to The Lost Drawer. Some stories don't have happy endings, but they all have truths that need to be told. And now that you've seen this one, you carry its weight too. And maybe it will make you look differently at people around you. Before you cut the rope, before you write their names as enemies. Because in the end, the mountain always wins, but it doesn't have to win twice.